You're not happy, but you look happy. Your photos say you're happy. Your answers say you're happy. How are you? Good, thanks. And somewhere between the photo and the feeling, something got lost. You can't name it exactly. It's not depression. It's not grief. It's more like a performance you've been giving for so long you forgot it was a performance. Today, we stop performing. I want to ask you something, and I want you to answer honestly, not the way you'd answer out loud, but the way you'd answer alone, at night, when nobody is listening. Are you happy? Not content, not fine, not managing. Happy. If the answer came easily, good, keep going. But if there was a pause, even a small one, this video is for you. Because that pause is not emptiness. That pause is the space between what you were told happiness is and what happiness actually feels like. And today, we're going to sit in that space. At some point, happiness became something to show, not feel. Show. The photos where you're laughing, the captions about gratitude, the stories that say, "Look how full my life is." And the people watching, they believed you. Maybe you believed yourself sometimes. But there were moments, quiet ones, between the posts and the parties, when you put down your phone and felt the gap. The gap between the version of you that everyone sees and the version of you that sits alone and doesn't quite know what it's feeling. We were taught that happiness is visible, that if you're really happy, it shows. People can tell. Your life looks a certain way, so we started performing it, smiling when we weren't sure, saying "I'm good" when we weren't, building lives that looked happy from the outside, while quietly, privately, wondering why it didn't feel that way from the inside. The performance is exhausting, not because it's dishonest, but because it costs you the one thing that might actually help: telling the truth. You open Instagram. Someone is on a beach. Someone just got engaged. Someone's business is thriving. Someone looks effortlessly, impossibly happy. And you're sitting in your apartment, in yesterday's clothes, eating something you didn't really want, feeling something you can't quite name. So you do what everyone does. You pucker your lips slightly, you find the light, you take the photo. You pick the one where you look the most okay. You post it, and then you wait for the likes, for the comments, for the small hit of validation that tells you for just a moment that you exist, that you matter, that someone saw you and approved. And it works for about 4 minutes. Then you open the app again. Here is what nobody tells you about that cycle. You are not weak for doing it. You are not shallow. You are a human being using the only tools you were given to try to feel something in a world that makes feeling very, very difficult. But the likes were never going to fill it. The comments were never going to answer it. The perfectly angled photo was never going to close the gap between who you are and who you wish you were. It was only ever going to make the gap more visible. Some people don't chase happiness. They avoid it. Not consciously, not deliberately, but somewhere deep down, there is a belief. I don't deserve to feel good yet. Not until I finish this. Not until I fix that. Not until I become a better version of myself. So happiness gets postponed again and again. Not because life is hard, but because somewhere along the way, you decided that you had to earn it first. Maybe someone told you that comfort was laziness, that joy without achievement was indulgence, that you needed to suffer enough before you were allowed to rest. And you believed them. So you work, and you push, and you improve, and you still don't let yourself feel okay, because the bar keeps moving, because you're never quite enough yet, because somewhere in you lives the belief that happiness is a reward, and you haven't done enough to deserve it. Here is the truth. Happiness is not a reward. It is not something you earn at the end of a long list of accomplishments. You don't have to be fixed to be okay. You don't have to be finished to feel something good. You are allowed to feel okay right now. Not because you've earned it, because you're human, and that was always enough. You are happy. And then you see something, a photo, a promotion announcement, a casual mention of a holiday, a house, a relationship that looks like everything you wanted. And just like that, you're not happy anymore. Nothing in your life changed, but suddenly it feels like less. This is the comparison trap, and it has been sprung on you 1,000 times. Not just on social media, at family dinners where someone asks about your career and you hear the pride in their voice when they talk about your cousin. At reunions where you do the quiet math, who has more, who has moved further, who seems to be winning. In your own head at 2 a.m. when you measure your insides against everyone else's outsides. Here is what comparison does. It takes a life that was enough, your life, the one you actually have, and makes it feel like a consolation prize. But here is what comparison never shows you: the anxiety behind the promotion, the loneliness inside the relationship, the debt behind the holiday, the private grief behind the perfect photo. You are comparing your full picture to everyone else's highlight. It will never be a fair comparison. It was never meant to be. It was meant to make you feel behind. Stop looking at their life to measure yours. Your life is not a competition. It never was. Someone, at some point, told you to be grateful. When you were sad, think about how lucky you are. When you were struggling, other people have it worse. When you dared to say you weren't okay, you have so much to be thankful for. And you swallowed what you were feeling. Because they were right, weren't they? You do have things to be grateful for. Other people do have it worse. So what right do you have to feel bad? Here is what nobody said. Gratitude and pain are not opposites. You can be grateful for your life and still grieve parts of it. You can count your blessings and still feel the weight of what's missing. You can know that others have it worse and still let yourself hurt. Telling someone to be grateful when they are in pain is not comfort. It is dismissal. It says your feelings are too much. Shrink them, hide them, replace them with something more acceptable. Your pain doesn't need to be compared to someone else's to be valid. It is valid because you feel it. That's it. That's the whole criteria. You are allowed to hurt without justifying it. You are allowed to be unhappy without apologizing for it. And you are allowed to want more joy, more peace, more of whatever is missing without anyone's permission. Here's something nobody says out loud. Most of what we call pursuing happiness is actually running from pain. The busyness, running from silence. The scrolling, running from stillness. The next goal, the next purchase, the next distraction, running from the feeling that if you stopped, even for a moment, something uncomfortable might catch up with you. We were told that pain is the enemy, that happiness means the absence of pain, that if you're hurting, something is wrong. Fix it, medicate it, distract from it, post something that says you're okay. But pain is not the enemy. Pain is information. The loneliness you feel is telling you something about connection. The emptiness you feel is telling you something about meaning. The anxiety you feel is telling you something about what matters. When you run from it, you don't make it go away. You just make it follow you further. The bravest thing is not to be happy all the time. The bravest thing is to stop pretending you are when you aren't, to sit with what's actually there, to let it speak, to hear what it's been trying to say through all the noise you've been making to drown it out. Here's what I believe. Happiness is not a feeling you chase. It's a feeling that finds you while you're doing something else, while you're present in a conversation and forget to check your phone, while you're so absorbed in something that an hour passes and you didn't notice, while you're sitting with someone you love and nothing needs to be said. These moments are not manufactured. They cannot be scheduled. They cannot be performed. They cannot be posted. They just happen when you stop trying so hard to feel them. This is what psychologists call the paradox of happiness. The more directly you pursue it, the further it moves. But when you stop pursuing, when you start building a life around meaning, connection, presence, happiness appears, not as a destination, as a byproduct. You were never supposed to chase it. You were supposed to build something worth living in and let happiness find you there. So, what do you unlearn? 3 things. First, you unlearn the performance. You don't have to look happy. You don't have to say you're fine when you're not. The people worth keeping in your life can handle the truth, and the ones who can't were never really there. Second, you unlearn the when. Stop finishing that sentence. There is no when. There is only now. And now is the only place happiness has ever actually lived, not in the future version of your life, not in the goal you haven't reached yet. Here, in this moment, imperfect and unfinished as it is. Third, you unlearn the escape. The next time you reach for your phone to fill a silence, don't. Sit in the silence. Let what's there be there. It won't kill you. It might actually tell you something true. You're not unhappy because something's wrong with you. You're not unhappy because your life isn't enough. You're unhappy because you were handed a broken definition of happiness before you were old enough to question it, and you've been trying to live up to it ever since. That's not your fault. But now you know. Happiness is not a destination. It's not a performance. It's not the absence of pain. It's not the number under your photo. It's what's left when you stop running, when you stop performing, when you sit down, put the phone away, and let yourself just be. Somewhere today, someone is living the life you think would make you happy, and they're not. They're sitting where you're sitting, feeling what you're feeling, wondering the same thing. Happiness was never over there. It was always here, waiting for you to stop looking elsewhere.